comes to shaping and pleating dumplings, there are literally dozens of shapes out there. I've narrowed it down to 12 shapes that give you a range of difficulty, from easy to intermediate to expert. I'm gonna walk you through which shapes are best for which cooking methods. It's a ton of fun. Let's get into it. We're ready to fill and shape. This is how you generally want to set it up. So I've got my filling here, got my wrappers, I've got a damp towel just to keep the wrappers from drying out as I'm working. I've got a scale because I'm not good like that with like eyeballing the amount of filling. If it's your first time, I recommend a scale. I've got a little bit of water, and that's to help adhere things if they're too dry. And then finally have a landing spot. So I have just some parchment on a half sheet tray. For the unpleated half moon, this is probably the simplest shape you could imagine. I'm gonna lightly wet the edges. Simplest way to do it is to gather the middle, and I have a little bit of water, just a little bit, and then I'm gonna work from the middle and pinch out. I'm being careful here to really press to crimp the edges. There's no pleats involved in this, so the pleating would help create extra points of sealing. But because we're not pleating, I want to make sure that this is really well sealed. So I'm just pressing and making sure, and you have this little pocket. This is the normal unpleated half moon. It's probably the easiest shape possible. Best suited for boiling, in my opinion. Pinched half moon, or the normal half moon plus a pinch. This is slightly more complicated, but still pretty easy. Just to walk you through, and we're gonna make another unpleated half moon shape. So I'm just gonna work from the center and then seal. Doesn't have to be perfect. So at this point we have our simple half moon shape, and then we're just going to take the ends, or the middle, and pinch it in the middle, and then just make a little fold like this and pinch. This is the normal half moon plus a pinch. Is also a really easy shape, and it's best suited for boiling, actually. This is the open-faced parcel shape. Like the unpleated half moon, also dead simple shape. Might be even easier, but it's a bit of an outlier in this lineup of shapes that I'm providing here, in that it's the only open-faced shape, meaning the filling is exposed. It's literally taking the ends here, gathering them up and pinching, but leaving the ends open. And so just taking the time to pinch like this, and at the same time I'm slightly flattening the filling as I'm going to make this sort of candy wrapper shape, just like that. And so you would end up with this open-faced dumpling. And as far as cooking goes, this is best suited for either pan frying or steaming, but I would not boil this style of dumpling because the filling is exposed. You'd risk having the filling sort of leak out over the cooking period, but I think steaming is a nice gentle option and will preserve the shape really nicely. And pan frying, because you've got this bottom that's super flat, you'll get a nice uniform crispy bottom, but you still get the filling that's intact, and then you get that tender top. Potsticker shape. This is a pretty classic shape. It's a step up from the pinched shapes, the pinched half moon, a little bit harder than the open-faced shape. But basically we start from that same concept, right? And so I've got this sort of taco situation here. And instead of leaving it like that, I'm actually going to pinch from each side, just like that. And I'm gonna create a sort of triangle shape on one side. And so you get this sort of candy wrapper situation. I'm going to repeat on the other side, just gently wetting, not a lot of water. And you can stretch this and form this so that it's nice and even. And I'm making sure to really get in there at the intersection to make sure everything is sealed up. And then you end up with something like that. Nice little candy wrapper. This is ideal for pan searing. So because like the open-faced shape, this has a really flat bottom, it's really well suited for pan searing. So you get this nice even surface for a lot of browning, crisping up, super nice eating experience. So we've got the Potsticker variation. This is one step up in difficulty from the last Potsticker shape, but it's a little trickier. I would still say it's medium difficulty. And make sure our filling is in there. And we are going to just lightly wet the sides, make sure things are going to stick. And then we pinch from the side, make our 4 sides just like this. And so we have our normal Potsticker shape. Make sure everything is well sealed, especially at these creases. And so we've got that shape, yeah? And we have 4 ends. And so the difference here is we're going to crease in the middle both ways. So you have a little divot. And then we're going to bring together these edges and stick them. So just really pinch. And that would be a version of the Potsticker variation. That's your finished Potsticker variation. Like the normal Potsticker, also suited for pan frying or steaming. It has this sort of flat side, but not as much as a flat side as the Potsticker. It's a little bit more wrinkled, but it's got this really pretty appearance. So I think to preserve that shape, steaming would be ideal. Pan frying is also nice. Our next shape is the ingot. Pretty reminiscent of a sort of like a tortellini type shape, but it starts from our unpleated half moon shape. And so I'm just pinching to crimp. I'm following the same procedure as the normal half moon. And so from this shape, we're actually going to just make a little divot in the center here. And then we're going to gather it. And then just for good measure, we're just going to wet those sides and pinch. You can form this. I'm almost like pressing between my fingers, like pinching slightly, because it has a slight elongated shape. If you look at pictures of like gold and silver ingots, it's very reminiscent of that. This is best suited for, in my opinion, steaming or pan frying. It's got this nice shape that you really want to preserve, and you don't want those like that floppiness that comes from boiling, which would really tenderize the wrapper. Pleated half moon shapes. Now, this is going to capture probably the most well-known dumpling shape. It's the one you'll find in the frozen section. This also resembles like a crescent. It ranges in difficulty depending on the number of pleats you're doing, but we'll start slow with the more sort of beginner-ish moderate variations, and then we'll ramp it up with the number of pleats. So for the simplest pleated half moon shape, we're going to start with fold down the middle. Again, we've got a taco, and I've got options here, but the simplest way to go about it is just to fold like so and pinch. And then I'll go again once more. I'll go from this side, yeah? And then just pinch. This pleated half moon shape has this crescent shape to it. It has a little bit of a curve, and it also has a flat bottom, so it's really well suited to pan frying, but it also has these frilly edges, so it's also good for boiling. I would say it's a really all-purpose shape, and you can't go wrong with boiling, steaming, or pan frying. Everything is very well enclosed, and the two pleat variation is a really simple crescent shape. Progressing through our half moon pleated shapes, this is the bidirectional 4 pleats. It always starts from this taco shape, more or less. Pinch in the middle, just like so. So instead, I'm actually gonna come from the center and pinch this way. And so that already forms sort of the half moon on one side. And then I'm gonna come in and pinch from the top. So that creates 2 creases this way, and that would be 2 pleats, like that. So we've got 1, 2, like that, and repeat on the other side. Just come in, just like so. Make sure to pinch. And then we got our bidirectional half moon with 4 pleats. This is the bidirectional 6 pleat. In terms of difficulty, a step up from the 4 pleat, but still operating from the same basic shape. So we start with our taco, and we're gonna pleat in both directions toward the center. So 3 per side makes 6, and that would be bidirectional. So then we go again. 1, 2, 3. Bringing the dough in. And so the more pleats we start incorporating, the more of a curved shape the dumpling starts to take on, more of a crescent shape. We can form it at the end just like this, and we have 6 pleats. So like the rest of the half moon pleated shapes, this is really good for all 3 methods, but it's probably best suited to pan searing. This is the bidirectional 8 pleat dumpling. So we start from our taco shape, and then 4 pleats. 1, 2, 3, 4. Other side. 1, 2, 3, 4. And so you end up with 8 pleats. So in terms of difficulty, I'd say this shape is a little more advanced than the 6th pleat, just because of more pleats involved, but not the hardest. So moderate to advanced, I would say. Like all the other half moon pleated variations, this is great for all 3 methods of cooking: boiling, steaming, pan frying, but you most often see it pan fried just because it has this nice flat shape like this. This is the unidirectional 8 pleat. It's a little more advanced than the bidirectional 8 pleat, purely because it's spatially just a little bit different dough handling, but the principle is very similar. So I'm just gonna gently wet here and then bring it up like a taco, but do not pinch in the middle. Okay, and then just gonna start by pleating 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and actually, if you do 7, you end up with 8 pleats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That would be folds. So this is really good for pan frying. It's got a flat bottom. It's also really nice for steaming and boiling. It has these flat sides, these sort of frilly thin sides that are more tender when they're boiled or cooked. So it's pretty multi-purpose. This is the pleated leaf dumpling shape. Probably the most advanced. Honestly, I don't do this one quite as often because it takes a good amount of practice It's also very time consuming, but the result is really, really pretty. So I'd say this is the most advanced technique that I'm going to show today. Starts by pinching at the end here. And you'll notice by pinching, I've created a crease on either side. And so I'm just going to follow along and use that crease to gather everything. And so I've created that situation. I'm just going to follow along and keep pleating alternating sides. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, take your time, 7, 8. At this point, we flatten the top, just pinch. You can even roll this end slightly. That would create a little bit of more of a point, and that would be your pleated leaf. And it kind of resembles like a tea leaf. Now in terms of cooking this, it's most often steamed, believe it or not, because it preserves that shape super well. But because it's so well pleated, it's so well sealed, it's also suitable for other methods like boiling or pan frying. So here are our 12 shapes ranging from easy to intermediate to expert. Captures a wide range of different shapes and pleating methods. You can choose your difficulty, you can choose your shape. You can't really go wrong. I encourage you guys to make dumplings at home, try all these different shapes, really have fun with it. There's no substitute for the convenience of store-bought frozen dumplings, but if you've got the time, you got the patience, and you want some of that customization, you really can't beat handmade dumplings.
Subscribe to our channel and visit ChefSteps.com for more tips, recipes, guides, and tools to help you level up in the kitchen.